Well, I found a lump in my right breast, and it turned out to be cancer. They did a lumpectomy, and then that turned out that the cancer had actually spread, so I had to have a double mastectomy, as it turned out. And since then, even I had another operation because there was a lot of lumps, and then another one because my breasts were not uniform. So I had 4 operations in total, and I got the lymphedema in the right arm straight after the first operation. Yeah, the diagnosis was delayed. It wasn't picked up straight away. And I had, this area was quite lumpy and hard and swollen, but with everything else that was going on, that wasn't an issue. Even for me, it wasn't an issue. And I didn't identify it at all. It was only later, when I went back to work, I couldn't actually straighten this arm. And then I realised that there was something quite seriously wrong, and physio at work suggested I come up to see Dr. Mackey at Mount Wilgan. That's when it was identified, and then we started the treatment. It started about 10 years ago, and the treatment here was as an inpatient, and I got it bandaged, so it's a compression bandage, a massage, and also discussions to teach me how to look after it, some hydrotherapy and gym work. However, I got it in my left arm as well after the different operations that I had. That was identified very promptly and treated very promptly. So because I had it in both arms, I had to come into hospital as an inpatient. I had nobody at home to look after me, so I had to come in as an inpatient. And the treatment is non-painful, and it's rather pleasant because you get about an hour's massage. And that, for me, is on both arms and front and back down to here. And that's all very nice. And you can't, for me, I couldn't eat on my own, I couldn't make my own meals, and that was another reason why I came in when I had it in both arms. Luckily for me, this one, my left arm, is not actively with lymphedema, but it is at risk. So I was then able to stay at home and come in daily for my treatment, and again, luckily, Mount Wilgan gave me transport there and back. One of the reasons I took it was I didn't actually feel safe having lymphedema and the heavy bandaging, because I was also quite weak and I felt vulnerable, you know, in the street just walking, and of course couldn't drive. Whereas now, when I'm now healthy, you know, and strong mentally, even if I was getting these bandaging, I wouldn't feel at risk because I present differently as well. I feel that that if I hadn't had this one diagnosed quickly and treated quickly, it could have been a more permanent problem, because there's changes that happen. And in this arm, there is definite changes here that aren't reversible. Whereas because this one was treated right away, and this was a heavy lump, and this is swollen. Certainly couldn't have worn a watch, but if it hadn't been treated right away, I could have had, I'd feel more like an invalid because it would be in both arms, whereas this is an inconvenience rather. I don't feel so much as an invalid. It's an inconvenience, but in both arms, especially living on your own, just doing daily things like, you know, washing the dishes or cleaning up, you know, surrounds, or keeping my house clean, that was a lot harder when you don't have one arm free and healthy. For me, also because of the expense of all my treatments, my cancer treatment, and keeping in a health fund, because it's I would say almost impossible to get Medicare treatment for this, and I feel it's optimal here. I felt that I had to keep working. I didn't know how long I could keep working, but for me that was a big issue, is the financial side of it, and emotionally, and the feeling of self-worth, and lack of isolation in going to work. But for me, I got 4 weeks annual leave and 2 weeks sick leave, and I should have been coming in for 4 weeks treatment. I came in for 3 weeks treatment because I was taking too much leave. The particular department I worked in is a department that should have been away. It was a medical department. I found that there was a lack of empathy from management, not so much from colleagues, but certainly from management. When I asked for time off for this, I'm not generally sick. I wasn't chucking sickies, and so I wasn't using up other parts of my sick leave. But in the length of time that I had the treatments, I felt that I wasn't getting proper holidays for my well-being and socialising. I couldn't, accept invitations because I had to keep that leave for the treatment. And I always felt that I was very fortunate in where I did work, that they should be more sympathetic. And I felt for other people in the general jobs that if my employees weren't sympathetic, how would it be for them? And a lot of them don't realise that when you first get diagnosed, that this isn't going to go away in a hurry. And you have to sort of set up your life to incorporate the lymphedema and not ignore it. Otherwise, you don't go for the treatment and it'll get worse. 10 years ago, there was not much knowledge publicly or through the government resources about lymphedema, and although I think it's improving now, and we have a group called the Lymphedema Support Group, we really need to promote this. We're trying to also let the GPs know, because that's one area where it starts for identification, but we do need help because not everybody can afford the private cover, and they can't afford the sleeves, which are very expensive, and the one without the other is the problem's not going to go away. It will only go away if we do get treated and we do get help.